Hi guys, welcome back to a new crash course. In this crash course, we will learn about unit testing in JavaScript using Jest. So when talking about tests, they fall into three main categories. So they consist of unit testing, integration testing, and UI testing. In this crash course, we will use Jest. It is a JavaScript library for creating, running, and structuring tests. And I will also show you how to create different type of test suite in this crash course as well. And at the end of this crash course, I also talk about the importance of unit testing. Why do we need them, or why do we need to implement it when it comes to building applications, and should we avoid it? We will find out in the end of this crash course. And now let's get started. Alright, so this is the official website of Jest. You can see that it says it is a JavaScript testing framework with a focus on simplicity. It also works with different types of projects like TypeScript, Node, React, Angular, Vue, and a lot more. So down here you can see it is fast and safe with the code coverage that we will also cover in this crash course, and more down here. So now let's just click on the get started. And here you can see that this is the command that we can use to install Jest. And before that, right here, you will need to install Node.js on your machine. And once that installed, here this is the library. You can see that it is very popular with more than 9 million downloads weekly with this library here. So now let's just quickly come here. And this is the command that you can install when you use with the npm or use with yarn. So I will do a little bit different using the npm. So instead of using like --save -dev, I use the -D, and we will also do the same thing. So right here you can see this is the empty folder I created called unit testing Jest crash course. And now let's just open up the integrated terminal. So here, let's just quickly, before installing using the command, right? So we will need to initialize the project. So it will be npm init -y. So we just agree to everything. Okay, so that's done. Here you can see that we have the package.json file created with the main, which is index.js and more. So now let's try to install the Jest. So this will be npm -D and the library name with this Jest. So this one here again, it's equivalent to the command that you see here. Okay, installation has been completed. Now let's create the new file. So for this one here, I call this as calculator.js. So this is the JavaScript file that we write the function here. And then I will need to create a new folder, or you can just simply create like a test file here, right, directly within this directory. But I want to create the new folder, so __ and test. So test with S, and also __. Okay, so this is the format that we usually use. And now let's try to create the file within this folder. So we call this as calculator.test.js. Okay, so this is the test file. Now let's try to create a function. Let me just put this down here. And now come to the calculator.js. So here I can just simply create calculator. And inside here I will create individual function. So this will be, let's just use the thumb. So previously you can just create something like this, the format using the function keyword, and then inside here we will need to return, let's just say a plus b or num1 plus num2. Then we want to return the result right back here. So this is the old format, And now I'm using the arrow function, which is ES6. So here, A and B, we want to return A plus B. Okay, so it would look like this. And now we create one function. So the second one I want to create, call this as diff. So basically we want to use the first variable. So we want to return that. Here it's A minus B. Okay, so now we create these two functions, simple, very simple. So now let's just come to the calculator.test.js. So this is the test file. And what you will need to do is to call that calculator require. So where is this from? This is from the calculator. So basically we are referring to this file right here, right? And right here we can start describing our test. So I call this as calculator test. So here we can create our individual tests. So first one will be, I will just describe this as adding 1 plus 2 should return 3. So here I can just use the keyword which is from Jest. So this is the expect calculator dot sum, and here 1 plus 2 we want to see the result, which is we're expecting 3 as the result. But right now it does nothing at all because we haven't adjusted to our package.json. So right here you can see that we have the test, and we will need to replace this with simply just write Jest like that. Okay, so now let's just close this for now. And here we come back to the test file. So let me try to explain again. So here we want to add 1 plus 2 and the result should be 3. And here we have the calculator.sum, which is right here. And we add our value here. So the first one referring to A, it will be 1. So 1 plus 2, it's expect to return 3. So now let's try to run this. So to run this, we will need to use the command npm test and then hit enter. Okay, so here we can see that we have see the error message saying that it is not a function. So the reason is that we haven't exported down here. So we have to also do the module export equal to calculator like that, and try to run it again. Alright, here you guys can see we now have the result, which is adding 1 plus 2 return 3, and this is the duration, and also this is the test width 1 pass, and the test is 1 pass as well. Okay, so now we can see that it is working, and next I want to show you is to change the number here. So instead of 1 plus 2, I just want to put like 2 plus 2 and run this one again. Okay, so here you can see that right here we it expects the result, which is 3, but then it receives 4. So this is how we use the Jest to test our whether the function is correctly implemented or not. Okay, so now let's just quickly try to use the other one, which is the subtract. So let me just create a new case. This one will be also, let me just change this back to 1 so that it passed that one. So here I should I call this as 2 minus 2 should not return 1. Do the same thing. Expect calculator diff 2 minus 2 not to be 1. So basically 2 minus 2 should not return 1. Okay, so now when I run it, you can see that it showed that 2 minus 2, so now return 1. So that means that it passed the case. And if I want to change this to, let's just say 0, then when I try it again, we will see the error message. So basically the not here, it just do the opposite of whatever that we expect it to have. So here you can see that right here, it expect not 0, but then I put it as 0. So that's why we see the fail case here. Okay, so now let me just change this back to 1. Okay, so now let's check for the null value. So come back to the calculator.js here. I will just use this as is null, and it just return null like that. Save that and come back here. Let me try to create a new test. So this will be test. I'll call this as should return null like that. So we expect this, the calculator dot is null. So we expect this to be null like that. So when I run this, and you can see 3 tests has passed. Okay, so this is how we check the null value. So next one I want to show you is to check for the value. And it return value. So now let's create that. So I call this as should return falsy. So we want to check whether the value is falsy or truthy. So for this one, I want to let's just expect the calculator dot check value. So number 0 to be falsy like that, and see if that's true. Let's just run the case. Okay, so you can see that it returned the falsy value because 0 is falsy. What if I change this to, let me just instead of like changing the value here, let me just try to put it down here. So right here, let me just use the null, whether it is also considered as the falsy as well. And here you guys can see, yep, it still passed here. So what about if I try another value, which is the undefined, and see if that is also the falsy value. Yep, it still passed the case. So as you can see here, what if I just change this to number instead? So let's say number 1, and then try that. And here you can see that the number is not the falsy because we receive here is number 1. Okay, so now you know that the falsy here is the null. Let me also put the comment down here. So when I upload the code, you can have it as the reference. So this is the undefined. And now down here, you can try it with the to be truthy as well. So for the truthy, it just basically we can just use this one here. You can also do calculator dot check value. So right here, I just say like hi, and to be truthy like that. Save it and try it. So this should pass the test. Okay, so here you can see that it also passed the test. Or I can just change this to, let's say, number 1. It also passed the test. Okay, so here you can see this is how we use the to be falsy or the to be truthy. Next, I want to show you is the checking for the two numbers, whether it is greater than or it is less than. Okay, so this will be test, and I will just say this as should be less than, let's just use number 100. And here we can either define like a new function here, or we can just directly assign the value here. So we just say num1 equal to 50, const num2 equal to 60, expect num1 plus num2 to be less than 100. And here we want to expect this to be less than 100, but let's see the case. Okay, so here you can see that it expects the value here to be less than 100, but then we receive it 110 because 50 plus 60 is equal to this value here. So let me also try the other one. Let's just copy this real quick, put it down here. So this time I will just use this as to 120. So the test should not take long enough because right now I'm recording the screen and while doing the test, so that's why it takes a little bit of time, but normally it's very fast. So here you can see that it now passed the test. So the 50 plus 60 it's equal to 110, but then it is expected to be less than this number here, so that means it is correct. And don't forget to also change the value here as well, because right here it is 120. So let me just put it as is for now. And next I want to show you is to expect the num1 plus num2 to be less than or equal to 110. So this is something that we can also use as well. So instead of just like less than the particular number, we can also do it less than or equal to. So now let me just try that again. Alright, so here you can see that it is now passed the test. So next one I want to show you is to use the greater than. So we can just do expect num1 plus num2 to be greater than 100. So here, let's run that again. And it should pass the test because 110 is greater than 100. All right. So this is all of the tests that you can try to create and try to test your function. So next one I want to show you is to use the Regex. But before that, let me just try to, instead of using every time that I finish writing the code and save the file, then I have to run this command again and again. So I don't want to do that. So here, let's just come to the package.json. So we'll just need to create a new one here. Let's just call this as test watch all. Okay, so the command here is just -- watch all, like that. Let's just save it, and here we can just run the npm run test watch all. Okay, so this is the command we define here. Let's just quickly run it. So this will run the just -- watch all. So this is the small letter, just to make sure that if you want to implement this as well. Okay, so here you can see that it just keep watching whenever that we change, make a change to the file. So now let me just try to change this to say like 50. So this is, let's just do this as 90. And when I save it, you can see that it automatically run the test for me. So whenever that you use this with Jest, you just need to run npm test, but for this one here you need to run npm run test watch all. Okay, so now we have this set up as well. Next one here, this is the regular expression. So let me just try to create, should be character I in the word ice cream. Let's just do it like that. And here we want to basically test for success match. And Now let's just do, we expect the ice cream here to match with the character I. So let me save that. And take a look here. You can see that this passed the test. But now let me just try to copy this for now. So when I change this to capital I and see whether it's passed the test or not. And here you can see that it is not passing the test at all, because here it says that expect this to have the capital letter I, but then we receive this string. So if we want to avoid the case insensitive, we can just use the regular expression, which is adding the I at the end here. So let me save that again. And then it should pass this. Okay, so you can see. And next, let me just also comment this one out, put it down here. I want to, let's just say, go back to the normal one, which is the checking for I. What happens if there is no character I in this word here? Let's just save that. Okay, so here you can see that expect to have I, but then there's no character I in this word here. What about the other one down here? Let me also try to instead of I want to match this with character E, which is exists in the word here. Let's just save that. So this should pass the test. Okay, so yep, it is working. And next I want to show you here is to test for failure match. All right, failure match, and we expect let's just say character the word high, it's not match with the high here. So if we don't use the word not, it's pass the test, but then we want to do the opposite things. So let me just save it. Okay, so it's failed. And now let me just down here. So instead of hi, I let's just say hello, and this should pass it. Okay, so this is the opposite of using the this is for the success match, and this is for the failure match. So next one I want to show you is the array. So the array, let's just put it down here, and let's just do Jest. So the word Jest should be in the array. And down here, let's just do create a list of array. Let's just call this as Jest unit testing. Maybe this one JavaScript. And then we expect the list of array here to contain the word Jest. Save it. So this should fail because if you can see, this is the capital letter and this is the small letter, right? So yep, the expected value is Jest, but then we receive the others. So let's just comment this and put it down here and change this to capital J. And this should pass it, right? So here you can see this in the array. So you can see that we have looked into a lot, like the calculator function with the return it as null, falsy, less than or greater than, also with the regular expression and the array. So next I want to quickly create a new file. So let's just call this one as object.js, and also create a new test file inside the test folder as well. So this will be object.test.js. Okay, so let me just move the object here, right? So let's just do object, and this will be
user. Let's just create the user object. So this return the user. Let's just define the name object with the, let's just call this as John. Age, let's just put 18, and this should return the user, which is this user here. And again, let's just export the module here. So module dot export equal to the name, which is the object here. And now let's just come to the object here. Again, the same thing. We just do object equal to require outside of this folder, which is the object, which is the file here. And down here, let's just try to do the same thing. Let's just say user should return object. And we expect the object.user, right, to be which basically right here we just put the same thing, name, which is John, and the age 18. Let's just save that, and let's just take a look at this here, whether it is working or not. So here you can see that it here right now we are using the to be. So here you could say that div equality and replace the to be with the to strict equal. So what you can see here, this is the value, the primitive type, but then the object or the array, it is the reference type. So we can't really use the to be within the object or the array. So what do we need to use? We want to change this to equal, right? And now let's just take a look here again. And this time, it is working fine. So again, the object and the array, it is the reference type. It reference to the different location in the memory of the computer. So yep. Now let me try to create a new function. I will call this as filter by term. So here take two parameters. One is the input array. The other one is the term that we want to search. So this will return the input array. We want to filter it out. So we want to filter out the array element. So this one here, let's just wrap this. This will return the array element dot URL, and I will show you where the URL is coming from, and dot match. So this is the JavaScript function. It's not coming from the Jest at all. And then we want to match the search term that we've searched. Okay, so this is a very simple function that we search for the term. Now let's just come to the object.test.js here. So now let's just try to describe this here. So describe this as filter function. And here, this is the test. Let's just say it should filter by a search term. In this case, this is the URL or the link. And inside here, we can just quickly create the input with the list of array. So let me just type all of this out and then come back to you. Okay, so here I have created this input here with the a list of array with the object inside. We have the ID and the URL, and this is the first URL, second URL, and the third one. And this is the output. So I want to match the ID number 3 here with, you can see, exact same thing with the URL here. And the URL here, you can see it is coming from here, basically, the array element.url, right, referring to the list here. And the same for this one. So now let's just try to use this. So expect the object here dot filter by term. So the function right here, and we want to use the input, so a list of array here, and then the search term, which is I want to search for, let's just say, the word website. Right inside here it exists, and I want this to equal to the output. So this a list here, and I want to search for this equal to whatever that is in the output. So this one and this one, it does exist. Now let me just save it, and you can see it passed the test. So what if I copy the same thing and put it down here? So instead of the word website, I want to change this to capital letter, and I'll save it again. And this time you can see it fell right here. It's not equal at all, right? So it case sensitive that again. So let me just keep it like that and just put this back here. Alright, so before moving on, I want to quickly show you how to use the coverage. So the command here will be npm test space coverage, and hit enter, and it will try to generate a new folder, and then I will show you what's inside. Okay, so here you can see there's a new folder here called coverage, and you can also see the result here as well. So here we have the tool file, the calculator.js, which is 100% tested, and inside the coverage here this is the report, and we have the index.html. So let me just open this in the browser. And as you can see, we can also see it in the browser here as well. So when I click on the calculator, then it directs me to the file, and also with the object.js. So here, this is quite useful when we want to see this. We can also sort it as well, right? So now let's just come back here. And the next thing that I want to show you is the fetching the list of user from the database via an API. So let me just put this back, and now let's try to create a new file. I will call this as fetchuser.js, and also create a new file inside this test folder as well called fetchusers.test.js, right? So let me just put it here, and also the fetch user, okay? And I will show you an endpoint now. Okay guys, so here this is the endpoint. Let me just click here, and this is a list of 10 users. So let me, before copy this one here, let's just come back here first. And now let me try to install a library. It's called Jest. So this allows us to fetch the data from the database. Alright, so up here, let's just use the Jest equal to require Jest. Down here, let's create the new function called fetch users. And because we only return one, we don't actually need to use this. So we return Jest.get with the endpoint that we will need to provide. Let's just copy this one here, come back here, put it here, quickly save it. And if we successfully fetch from the endpoint here, then the result here is the rest will be rest.data. And if there's an error, then we want to also catch it as well. So this will be error, and let's just console log this for now if there's an error, or we can also do the throw error as well. So let's just put it like that and come to the test, and again don't forget to export this one here. So this will be module.export fetch users, right? Come back here, Now let's just try to use the fetch users, the require coming from outside the folder. This one will be the fetch user. And here let's create a test. Let's just call this as a very simple one. Username should return the name, which is Brad, like that. And down here we can just do const data. We want to get a list of data. Right here, this is the fetch users, and because we want to use the async and await, so don't forget to also provide the keyword here. And down here, this will be the await. Okay, so let's just quickly, I will also console log the data as well, but now let's just expect this one first. So this will be data with the, so we have a list of 10 users, right? But I only want to check for the first one for now. So this will be the index number 0 dot username and to equal Brad. So what if I put it like say John for now, right? And see what do we get. Save that quickly, and don't forget to also run the command, which is the npm run test watch all. Okay, so it failed because the expected value is John, but then we received the Brad, right? You can also console log here. So say I want to see a list of data here. Save that. Right, we can also see the value here as well. So the first one, I'm looking for ID 1. So the username here is Brad. And then we can also do like so if you want to, but if not, let's just comment this one out, and we can already see the result, which is the expected value. If you don't want to console log here, that works fine as well. And now you can see that it passed all the tests. So this is a very simple one when you want to try to see whether the data that coming from the end via an endpoint here is the expected value that we want to check for. Then you can also do something like this using the async and await. So one last thing here, guys, if you want to use the coverage, so instead of using the one that I show you npm test --space --coverage, you can also change it like putting it here, right? So it will be like just coverage like so. If you want to, that also works as well. Okay guys, so the last thing here, question would be, why do we need to write all of the text here? Because it takes time, right? So here say that if you want to make some changes to a function, and then we don't want to go through all of the testing again manually. So using Jest, it helps us to identify what went wrong with the test that we have already created by running all of the case or all of the tests at once. So unit test, it basically allows us to break down the code into like a smaller function, or it called units, and then we test each unit. So if one unit fails, then we know where the issue is coming from, and then we can fix it easily and quickly. So yep, that's the benefit of unit testing, and of course it saves us a lot of time when the applications become more and more complicated. And yep guys, I think that's pretty much it for this crash course. I hope you learned a lot from this, and you can see that we started from scratch using the very simple one up until we fetch the data and we see the expected results. And if you have any question, let me know in the comment section down below, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you want to see the similar crash course just like this one. Until then, see you guys in the next video.